Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Meet the Maker. I am absolutely thrilled to be joined for this episode with the lovely Madison from Fleur Ange. Hello, Madison. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thanks for having
Excellent.
me.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm thrilled to learn more about your business, about your amazing yarn, which I have some right here, by the way.
Oh,
This is the daffodil
yeah,
that I am halfway through making a poncho-y kind of thing. I
beautiful.
can't even remember what the pattern is because I've lost the pattern, but I'll
Oh
find it
no.
eventually. Um, and this is the softest sock yarn I think I've ever felt. So you can tell us all about that in a little
Yeah.
while. But jump right in and kind of give us an overview. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so I am Madison. I am 32, been married for almost 10 years, and we have two young sons. I have a toddler and a 4-month-old. So it's very busy here. I was born and raised in Southern Ontario. So I'm in Sarnia, Ontario, which is right
Yep.
on the border of Michigan and just south of Lake Huron, right on the
Mhm.
water there. Um, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
it.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah,
me.
I grew up in Guelph, so
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sarnia is not that far away.
Yeah.
So
In the grand
so
scheme of Canada, yeah.
in the grand scheme of Canada, yeah, exactly. So tell us about Fleurange. What is your business? How did it you made a in your notes before we came together to record, you say that you're a custom clothing sewist.
Yeah, so that's how I started out. In 2019, I was looking to, work from home and do something creative that brought me joy instead of working in an office. I am a bookkeeper by trade, and I was getting pretty fed up with doing that. Didn't want to fill out forms anymore.
I understand.
And I have been sewing on and off for probably 8 to 10 years. It
Yeah.
was kind of a hobby. Um, but I worked somewhere that I got to develop that skill quite a bit. And so I wanted to take that and make custom clothing for people. Size inclusivity has always been very important to me. And I know
Mm,
how hard it is to find clothing that is exactly the style that you want and the size that you want. So it was like late 2019 that I started that. And
oh,
within like 5 months, COVID hit. And I was
yeah.
like, oh, I guess I can't have people come to my house, for 2 weeks. That's no big deal.
Right.
And then it turned into, like 5 years later, I still don't really want people coming to my home.
Fair
So
enough.
had to pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's how it
Wow.
started.
That's amazing. Um, so you pivot into yarn dyeing.
Yeah, that was a couple steps later. So
Okay.
because at that point I wasn't knitting yet in 2019. I mean, I think like
Oh,
a lot of
wow.
people with COVID,
Yeah.
they were trying to find some form of something to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And so it was after COVID had shut everything down. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? I can only sew myself so many pajama
Hmm.
pants to sit around my
Yeah.
house with. So I had crocheted on and off for a little bit. My grandmother taught me how to crochet. Um, but I had some hand pain with that, so I couldn't do it very much. And then I found knitting, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Where am I going to put, the 20 projects that I started? I'm like, oh, I can sew myself project bags. This is great. So then I started sewing project bags and selling them, and I'm like, oh man, I found hand dyed yarn because
Mm.
like Michael's Walmart is basically
Yep.
all I knew about when I first started. And then going on Instagram and kind of being exposed to all of these amazing people with their amazing projects, seeing hand dyed yarn. And I'm like, oh, I could probably do that. I'm very
Hmm.
much like a try it and see, like
Hmm.
learn by doing. And like, you don't need to research anything, just start, just
Just
do
do
it.
it.
Just
Yeah.
do it. It'll be fine. So that was the kind of the progression to dyeing yarn. And I mean that I just absolutely love. Fell in love with that.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, you did make one really valid point, and you know, part of the impetus for me to start this series featuring Canadian makers had nothing to do with the climate of the political scene at
Yeah.
this time. I've always been a firm believer that we have such amazing talent here in Canada that
Mhm.
and we don't need to go elsewhere. If we choose to, that's okay, but we've got such amazing talent here that we've got lots to choose from.
Mhm.
Um, but you made a point about the cost with the cost of the
Yeah.
dollar exchange. And, indeed, you go, I've been to Rhinebeck, a couple of
Mhm.
times, which is, a fabulous place to go,
Jealous. Yeah, I'd
right?
love to go.
Fabulous place to go. But when you think about the exchange rate, yes, okay, the price tag says $30, but then you put the exchange rate, on that, and you're right, it's like $45 for a pair of
Mhm.
socks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
Is the yarn beautiful? Yes,
Yes.
but so
Yeah.
talk to us about, where did you go to source your raw material? Are you doing that in Canada? Or is that how you're able to, create your releases of yarn in a financially, what are the words I'm looking for, in a doable kind of cost point, if you will?
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, this is a business for me,
Yeah,
so I do need to make some money,
of
even though
course.
I'm like you see those things online where it's like you start a business and then you charge money for it and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to
Yeah,
charge people." But at the end of the day, like if I want to keep doing
yeah.
this, I have to make money. So, I started out and from day 1, I focused on trying to find Canadian suppliers for
Mhm.
things because the closer you can get to home, the less expensive hopefully things are going to
Right.
be because like you can buy bear yarn from Knit Picks, let's say, but again, the exchange, the shipping, and then the import fees and everything,
Yeah.
it adds up. So, yeah, I searched and I Googled and I it's hard because you want to ask people what they use, but you also don't want to step on any toes. But fortunately, I found a very good friend in Catherine from Creation Miss Couture, who
Okay.
is another Canadian dyer. And she helped me a ton, like
Oh,
so willing to
fabulous.
share her knowledge and her expertise. So I found them places that would work and just kind of started the ball rolling.
Yeah. See, and that's the very point of this whole thing, is that people are willing to share their knowledge,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. Because
Right.
like
I mean, you don't want to give
Catherine,
away trade secrets, but
yeah,
yeah.
Catherine and I teamed up for the last collection that I did, the
Hmm.
Shrek collection.
Yep.
And like having someone to bounce ideas off of and just to collaborate with.
Hmm.
But it's so amazing how two people can take the exact same inspiration and come up with completely different things. So it's like,
Right.
even if you're using the same yarn bases and the same dyes,
Hmm.
the way that you dye yarn, the way that you see inspiration, like at the end of the day, it's an art form,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yep.
amazing how even with the same raw materials, like, 2 dyers are gonna do completely different things. So at the end of the day, like, does it really matter if someone knows where you got your dye from or where you got your yarn from? It's like they're gonna do something completely different with
Yeah.
the same materials.
Yeah. And that's a valid point. It's like people all knitting the same pattern. It's going to look
Yeah.
different across the
Yep.
board,
Yep.
right? Because everybody
Yep.
makes little adjustments or, design kind of features. Maybe they're
Yeah.
mistakes, but we call them design features. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so speaking of inspiration, one of the questions that I asked you in the prep notes was about where you gather your inspiration, and where your creative process. Walk us through your creative process. So maybe even use the Shrek collection as an example, because I saw that everywhere on Instagram, everywhere. And my kids are all grown up now, but still Shrek is one of our favorite movies,
Yeah, it's such a
right?
good movie.
It's such a good movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk about your creative process for, the start to finish, if you will, for that kind of
So,
a
yeah,
collection.
for that one I would say is a little bit unique because the idea for it act like it literally came to me in a dream.
Nice.
Um, I don't know. if other people can relate to this, but when I was pregnant, I had the most insane dreams. It's a symptom, like a lot of pregnant women have like just very vivid dreams, and I still have it. It's like it never, I mean, it's only been 4 months, but hasn't gone away yet.
Right.
So I had this such a vivid dream that I made a yarn collection based off of Shrek. That was the dream. Like it kind of just like a vague idea of it. Like it didn't have colors or anything, but
Hmm.
I woke up and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Yarn collection based off of Shrek. Like, how did my mind even think of that? And
Hmm.
I was kind of laughing about it to my husband. And then it's just one of those things that it kept kind of tickling the back of my mind. And I'm like, I could probably. So then I watched the movie. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
clearly my brain needs me to watch Shrek.
Right.
And then watching it, like the five main characters, I'm like,
Hmm.
like there's a really unique coloring to each of them. Like, I wonder. And I keep these with me pretty much everywhere I go. These are the swatches that I have of all the
Okay.
different dyes. So then it's like I keep these and I think about something and I'm like, oh, I wonder if this, this yellow with this orange, what like in between that would be.
Hmm.
So like it's really helpful to have a visual representation of at least some of the things that you can do.
Right.
And then from there, it's basically just experimenting. It's a lot of failure and it's a lot of,
Yeah.
oh, those colors look good, but maybe not placed in that way. Let's try again and let's try again. But for this one, actually, the first three colors that I dyed, they
Hmm.
came out almost exactly the way I had pictured them, which
That's
never
amazing.
happens.
Yeah.
Never happens.
So it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. I'm like, I dyed the first one and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I dyed the second one. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so when you're planning a collection, do you go into it like let's say when you're doing your year-long planning, right? Do you say, okay, this year I'm doing 4 collections and they're going to be this, and this themed? Like, do you know in advance what your
Um,
collections are going to look like? Or is it this situation like with the Shrek collection where all of a sudden it pops into your head, via a dream or what have you, and you think, okay, I have to do this collection, even though maybe it wasn't in the plan.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both. I like to plan ahead because, I want to have things ready and I want to be able to, especially with the highly variegated colors, I want to be
Hmm.
able to do swatches in different ways so that
Okay.
people can kind of see what they look like knit up. So I need to give myself a little bit of time, but
Yeah.
also like as a creative person, I don't want to limit myself because sometimes you lose a little bit of the motivation or the enthusiasm.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, well, that's a great idea. I have time to do that in a year from now. It's like, okay, well, in a year from now
Yeah.
is not when I want to do it. I want to do it now. So
Right.
I try
Right.
to kind of leave myself little room to change the plan
Hmm.
and kind
So
of,
how do you then balance? So, I mean, I think you're doing what a lot of people aspire to do, right? Work in yarn and, create these collections and be this indie dyer. But how do you balance being the business person doing this work and the designer doing this work and then your own personal creativity?
yeah, it's tough. It's hard to separate the business from the creativity
Hmm.
because especially like I'm also a painter and you never paint the same painting twice.
Right.
But when you're a dyer and you put out a collection, like you're kind of hoping that you're dyeing the same yarn over and over again because it means that people have purchased it.
Right.
So it can be a little bit tough and I have to give myself space to kind of just play,
Hmm.
especially when I'm in the middle of dyeing for people who've purchased things. It's like it's the
Yeah.
same stuff over and over and it can feel monotonous. So I try to give myself like just, yeah, space to play a little bit
Okay. Yeah.
because otherwise that I find that that is what gets me burnt out is if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, which
Yeah.
is why I left bookkeeping because it's doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to kind of give yourself room to make mistakes and play around
Hmm.
and not make everything about business.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's valid. That's a valid point. So one of the questions that I asked you is, can you share a project that you're especially proud of and what makes that particular project so special? And you said it was your first collection. So
Mhm.
so talk about that first collection.
That first collection was really a jumping off point. I had been experimenting and doing little bits here and there, and I was really nervous to put myself out there because you never really know how it's going to go. That
Mm,
first step is the scariest. But it was something that brought me a lot of joy, um, especially in the winter time. I deal with anxiety all year round, but especially in
mhm.
the winter time, when you haven't seen the sun for
Yep.
4 months, it can be tough. And that collection was kind of a little bit of therapy for me. And then
Mhm.
to be able to see other people love it so much, like it just really meant a lot that people were also willing to take a risk too, because it was my first
Sure.
collection. No one had ever used my yarn before. So anyone who bought yarn from me, they were also taking a chance.
Yep.
So it meant a lot, the
Mhm.
positive response that I got from it too.
That's excellent. Yeah. What about creative blocks? So have you ever, ever had that, okay, I know that, this year I'm going to do a spring collection and then it comes time to start designing that and you're like, oh, I got nothing.
Yeah. Um, like I have so many ideas, it is usually hard to nail it down to just one.
Mm,
But I would say that the times I have a creative block is when I've just finished something, because you put so much time and energy into making sure something is perfect. So like
mhm.
launching a collection, I kind of need to take a step back and like rest for a little bit, and then it can feel tough to get back into it.
Yeah.
It's like you have that panic moment where it's like, have I used up everything? Like, do I even have any ideas anymore? And then I go back and
Mm,
I look at my list and I try to get myself inspired again by some of the things that I have. Or um, we live in a beautiful area, and like I grew up along the shores of Lake Huron, and
mm,
even just going for a walk and
yeah.
trying to really be present and observe the things around me, because there's so much stuff to draw inspiration from.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you have to make an entire collection out of it. Sometimes,
Right.
I do one pan of a color and just kind of let myself play and tell myself that it doesn't have to mean anything. I can use
Hmm.
it myself. I can put it up on Etsy. I can do whatever I want with it. Let's play around and have fun.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So what's next for you? What's coming up next?
So, up next, I am working on a permanent collection,
Oh, do tell.
which I'm very excited about. Because, at the end of the day, it is a lot of work to put together a collection,
Hmm.
and to have it up for, 1 week or even 1 month and then finish it. And it's like, then
Hmm.
to do the next collection, you have to do all that work again. So I really wanted to have something that would be there permanently for people to look at and be inspired by and order it whenever they wanted to. So I wanted to do colors that were really usable and really wearable. And also, because it's starting to be the warmer weather, we have sunshine finally. I sat
Hmm.
outside with a cup of coffee this morning. It was beautiful. So I really wanted to do some summer fibers.
Okay.
So basically, what I decided is I'm going to do a permanent collection, but there's going to be two editions. So there's going to be kind of like a warmer season edition and a winter edition. So I'm working on the summer edition right now, which will
Oh,
be some lighter
that's
pastel
exciting.
colors. And they're all cotton wool bases that
That's
are just
exciting.
I'm very excited about. I've knit with all of them. That's another thing
Hmm.
that I find very important. I don't have a ton of bases. Like there's some dyers that offer 30 plus bases,
Sure.
but for me personally, I really want to knit with all of the bases that I
Hmm.
offer, because I would hate for to dye something and then find out later that it's not good quality or the dye doesn't stick to it or whatever. So
Yep.
these are all bases that I have knit with in the past year, and I just am very, very excited about all three of
Oh,
them.
that's brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah. And one thing I appreciate when I'm buying indie dyed yarn, so obviously not the big box store that's, produced in massive quantities, but I appreciate seeing that swatch knit
yeah.
up so I can see what it looks like.
Hmm.
And because, like something like this, you you pretty much know what you're going to get. Like it's not stripy, it's not variegated, but I mean, that you're going to get color change,
Hmm.
right? Um, but I find it difficult to translate from the skein to what it looks like knitted,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
especially when it's like this,
Yeah,
right?
because it could look in the skein or in the cake like it's going to be a solid color.
It could,
But
yeah,
then when you knit it up, you're like, "Oh, where did all these colors come from?" Because it can
right,
look so different. Yeah.
yeah. So that's brilliant. So there was one more question that I think I highlighted it. So I'm just flipping my paper over here. We already talked about that. You already talked about your new collection, which is amazing. Um, where you get that, your creative blocks, the permanent collection. Oh yeah. Canadian craft market. So you said you had to cancel your trip last year, but you really want to go to Knit City.
I really do. They were in Toronto last year, and because of a family circumstance, last year? Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
And I couldn't end up going. They're in
They're in Montreal in
Montreal
May.
in May, and I'm like, oh, maybe. Are you
I'm
going?
going.
Ah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Whitney from Knitted by Whitney is going too.
Is she? Well,
And
if you change your
I
mind,
know. I'm like, I
yeah.
want to. I want to
Yeah.
so bad.
It's not that
Like,
far of
it's
a
not that
drive.
far.
It's not
Toronto
that
would be
far.
much more doable. Like Montreal would have to be a weekend trip, and
Yeah.
like with two kids, I'm like, oh, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll
You'll
see.
see.
I've planted the idea in my husband's mind,
I
so we'll
love
call
that.
it a family trip, and then he can take care of the kids and do fun stuff in Montreal while I go buy
There's lots of great
yarn.
things to do in Montreal while
Yeah.
you go yarn shopping.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
that's fabulous. Okay, so where can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram as Florange Apparel, Etsy,
Mhm.
Florange Apparel, and I also have florange.ca, which is my website that it has information on all of my bases and past
Okay,
colors and stuff if people want to kind of see more of a portfolio style
perfect.
of
Okay, and
what
I'll
I
be
have.
sure to include all of those links down in the show notes. And to you, my lovely listeners and watchers, Madison has very generously offered a discount code for us. So um, the episode is going to be up live on this coming Sunday, which I should have been better prepared with my dates here. Sorry. Sunday is the 23rd. So for 30 days, once the episode goes up, she's offering a 15% discount with the code 3 a.m. Knitter. So all that information will be down below in the show notes. If you have any questions, though, please reach out directly to Madison, and I am quite certain she will chat with you about her lovely yarn.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. Love your yarn so much.
Thank you
So
so
much.
much.
I wish people
Thank
could
you.
wish people could feel this because it's so
Oh, I know. I
soft.
do love that base. I think you got the 80/20, right? The soft
I
sock.
I did.
And
It
that one, like,
is,
I don't
yeah,
even know if I would make socks out of it. It's just so soft. It's like it needs to be a sweater or
like
something.
it's
Yeah, I love
wildly
it.
soft.
Yeah, I love
It
it.
feels almost like silk.
Yeah,
It really does. Just an FYI,
yeah.
everybody. It feels like silk. So thank you so much, Madison, for sharing your time with us,
Thanks
and
for
we'll
having me. I
chat soon.
appreciate it. Yeah.
My pleasure. Bye for now.